Now, many of us have a personal journey that has led us to being school board members. And for me, it started years ago as a young child. The value that my teachers placed on me follows me to this day and is represented in all that I do, including this journey of becoming your MSBA president. Most of those teachers will never know the full impact that they had on my life. Being elected to my local school board has provided me a way to give back to public education, and my service on my MSBA Board of Directors and as your officer is an extension of that effort. As I jotted down notes to prepare for my speech today, I kept coming back to the same theme. School boards matter. Imagine if there was no one willing to serve on your local school board. Imagine if there were no local school boards in which to serve. Imagine if school boards had nowhere to turn for training, support, and professional development. Simply put, imagine if our association did not exist. How would this impact the educational landscape across Missouri? Now, regardless of what some would have others believe, the product that we are responsible for is not a commodity, but a child. In manufacturing, for example, you pick the product you choose, you develop it, and you market it. And along the way, you are able to decide whether to discard it and get rid of it if it doesn't meet your standard. With our product, the children, echoing what Melissa has said, we are a no-reject business. We would never consider turning the child away. We take all of our product with their flaws, their baggage, their imperfections, their illnesses, their emotional issues, and their hunger issues, and we do so with welcome hearts, and we're excited to see them reach their full potential. This is a huge responsibility for someone without experience, and that's what newly elected school board members do. School boards matter. Regardless of what profession you've come from or what other organizations you've served on, your role as a local school board member is unlike any role you've ever had. Most of us are not trained at being elected officials, but because of our passion for children, we volunteer, we put our names on a ballot, and we are elected by our communities to represent their beliefs and their values. If not for locally elected school board members, how would your community have a voice and be connected to your school districts? School boards matter. And once elected, we are not just volunteers who are elected. We are elected public officials. Just like members of the General Assembly, just like your local, state, and local county officials, we are school board members who have been elected as representatives of your community. And that carries with it credibility and enormous responsibility. We put children first by representing the public's voice in public education. So I ask you again, imagine if we did not take the risk of running for our local school boards. Imagine if the communities did not see the value in what we do. Imagine if we did not answer the call to boldly exercise our distinct and appropriate authority to oversee our public schools. Imagine if our association did not exist. In a recent article I read from Tom Ginsel, National School Boards Association Executive Director, he mentions that school boards began when 50 states on their own decided to create school boards. Local boards of education exist not because of federal law, but because of state statutes. They knew that in order for the community to have a voice in public education, that it had to come from the local level. Local accountability is how we shape the local expectations of our children. And today, sadly, some are seeking to abandon that traditional commitment of democratic governance of our schools. Of course, we will continue to oppose this movement and fight to preserve local governance of public education, but it's just as important, thank you. I'll say that again. Of course, we will continue to fight and oppose that movement to preserve the local governance of our schools. But as important as local, state, and federal advocacy is, I am convinced that real and lasting change to benefit our students must come from the local level. Dr. Robert Putman, the author of the new book, Our Kids, the American Dream in Crisis, put it this way in a recent interview with MSBA. The way that America solves problems in our local communities is by our local communities, I could not agree more. That's why local school board governance in our school is crucial. But it is also incumbent on us to fulfill that leadership responsibility. Because if we don't fill that leadership void, someone else will, and they will do it without the assistance of the Missouri School Boards Association. So school boards matter. Fortunately for us, since its beginning in the 1950s, two of MSBA's fundamental purposes have been to advocate for sound state and federal policies that are related to education and to provide support for local school boards. MSBA recognizes the role of local school boards is to establish goals and policies and to articulate that vision for our local school district. Our association understands that even for the most experienced, professional, educated individual to be an effective school board member, that we need continued professional development and ongoing mentoring from other more experienced school board members. MSBA remains the only association in our state that is established by and governed by locally elected school board members. Missouri School Boards Association knows why school boards matter. Now, looking ahead and looking forward, we have an exciting year of transition ahead of us. We will continue that legacy of leadership. We have a strong foundation from which to build, continuing the Baldrige framework and MSBA's commitment to doing business this way. We are committed to improving our communications with you, reevaluating our programs, services, and policies, and increasing our advocacy presence in Jefferson City. And I am so encouraged by the potential of our MSBA governance structure. This governance model makes sense, allowing us to build stronger relations in our regions and throughout our state that will continue to enable us to become even more effective local leaders. But we need to keep working on it and improving it and continue to work on what we've started. Expanding the grassroots efforts at the local communities, with local community support, and building strong relations among school board members. It is also, in order for this to be successful, this is going to take further conversations and our continued commitment. Doug said this last year, failure is not an option, and I fully agree, it's not, and I know you all think the same thing. Melissa and I, or as Carter so affectionately refers to us, the M&Ms, along with the executive committee and the board of directors, will work diligently to ensure the success of your association. The executive board and the board of directors knew that Melissa was the obvious choice for our next executive director. Besides being completely qualified, Melissa has the passion for and the commitment to public education that we have experienced with Carter's leadership. Here it comes again. With her full understanding and appreciation of our responsibilities as an elected Board of Education and her heartfelt empathy for the challenges that we face, we could not be represented by anyone with more passion, understanding, and respect for what we do. I have no doubt that Melissa would be the first one to defend why school boards matter. In closing, thank you for what you do for our children and for allowing me to be your president. Many of you know my passion for early childhood education, so I found it appropriate to leave you with this from the book, Imagine If. Take a long look through your take-a-look eyes. How the world is amazing from the seas to the sky. You'll see some things if you look for a while. You'll be so amazed, you can laugh and you'll smile. But try and imagine, what would you say? if this was a world without our MSBA. Thank you.